Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to do a 29-month update on the RedSea Reefer, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Maxspect Gyres versus the Ecotech Vortech MP10s. Hi guys, welcome back. 29-month update. Things have been going well. The tank is fairly stable. Let's see, let's do a parameter check. Alkalinity is around 8. Calcium is 420. Magnesium is about 1,250. Phosphates are around 0.16 and nitrates are around zero point 0.5. Sorry, 5.0. So nitrates 5 parts per million, phosphates 0.16 parts per million. I actually like to keep my nitrates a little bit higher than 5, so I've started dosing potassium nitrate again, about like a mil a day. I'm still dosing ESV 2 parts, and I've also added the magnesium supplements because magnesium was declining a little bit. But for the most part, the tank has been really stable. Here's a video of my fish eating mastic. You get to see my beautiful wrasses. I have 3 wrasses in the tanks right now. There is the carpenter wrasse and the yellowtail tamarin wrasse, which is the black and white wrasse, beautiful fish, and the Moyer leopard wrasse. All right, so I owe you guys a top-down view for my last video. I shot a top-down view, but half of it didn't come through. So after the top-down tour, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experiences so far with the Maxspect Gyre and how it compares relative to the MP10. So I've been meaning to kind of give you guys my comparison, but I've been waiting a little bit just waiting for the gyres to break in and waiting for the first kind of maintenance session with them. Okay, so let's start with the top-down tour. The blue tenuous is doing great, and so is the birds of paradise. And the Christmas Montipora is again getting bigger. I'm glad I really put it on the bottom because it would have just taken over a big chunk of the tank. The pink mystic, again, it's doing really well. It's losing the battle with the acropora, but that's good. Okay, then here we have on the left is the red planet acro, and it's starting to actually see branches going up. And then we have the blueberry wine. That coral is getting really big, and the colors are just super sharp. It's a little bit hard to see here, but it's actually a really big colony. There is the Jason Flame Fox, and I'm actually going to move it from the spot because it's not doing too well. I'm going to put it lower. The pink Cadillac is looking really beautiful. This colony is getting better and better looking the more that it ages. Here's a different look for the Cadillac. Again, the pinks are just getting more vibrant, and you gotta love these white growth tips. The California Tort is looking really great, vibrant blue coral, and the purple bonsai in the back here. It's kind of amazing that this colony is looking so great now, considering that this was essentially almost dead about a year ago. The little dead colony in the plug, that's the Icefire Echinata. So this is my second attempt at trying an Icefire Echinata, and both of them failed. So I think I'm gonna leave this coral for a little bit and not try again. Here is the Orange Passion, looking fantastic, I think. And the colony on top, I don't think it's really happy here. This is an Aussie Rainbow, but it's not doing great. So I think I'm gonna move it somewhere lower in the tank. I think this probably could do better with less light. And then the Shockaholic is recovering nicely, where I'm getting the vibrant green back, and it's definitely growing pretty fast. Let's see, on the bottom here we have the Reef Raft Pac-Man. Again, very fast growing colony, purple branches with yellow tips. So here is the Sunset Millie, and this colony is just not doing anything for me. So I think I moved it before. Sorry, the fish is disturbing the surface here. So I did move it before, and I think now I'm gonna move it up to where it's getting more light. So this is gonna be the last attempt to get this colony to be happy. The red dragon is doing great, but I think I'm actually gonna move it higher up in the tank. It's kind of getting crowded by the cold water acro. And you see the cold water acro, it's kind of brown up top, but really green on the side. So I think that's a sign that this colony really needs lower light than I'm giving it now. But unfortunately, it's kind of in the bottom of a tank, so it's just going to have to do. The voodoo, the aura blue voodoo is looking great. Nice rich colors, and it's growing upwards, which is good. And the Slimer, the green Slimer, it's actually encrusting on the second piece of rock over here, so it's on 2 rocks now, and it's showing great color and polyp extension. And then finally, the electric Miyagi Tort is recovering nicely. You could see the colors are starting to come back. It's not as amazing as it looked about 6 months ago, but I think it's recovering nicely. So. Yay! And here's a look from the right side of the tank, looking across the tank. So it's you could really get a sense of how well these corals have been growing. They're filling up the space really nicely. We're almost getting like an acropora canopy, which is when I started the tank, I wanted to have the aquascape reach up to 2/3 up. And then I wanted to place the acropora in a way that when they grow, they essentially fill up the rest of the canopy of the tank, and I think we're getting there. The blueberry wine colony at the back here, it's really spectacular when you look at it in real life. And that was the top-down tour. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Okay, so for the last few minutes, I just want to talk about the tank in general. So again, moving the automatic top-off reservoir to the basement has been amazing. I've only had to turn on a tap once, and I haven't had to deal with refilling my containers at all. So that's been great. All right, so now I want to talk about the Maxspect gyres. So I added 2 XR or XF 230s. So these are the smallest of the the new generation Maxspect gyres. I added these 2 to the tank, I think about 3 or 4 months ago. And I've been running 2 Ecotech Vortech MP10s since the tank was started, so for about a little bit less than 2.5 years. And I just want to share some thoughts, because I got asked quite a few times which is the better unit, the MP10s versus the gyres. And it's one of those debates where I think it's kind of endless. It's like Canon versus Nikon. And it comes down to different preferences, but for me, there's a couple things okay, let me tell you first about what I like about the gyre. So obviously the flow is really unique, and the sheet of water moving around the tank is gentle, yet there's still a lot of water being moved. So I think obviously they're very good for moving water around. Now, 2 things that I don't like about them relative to the MP10s. The first thing is that they are definitely more noisy than the MP10s, especially if you're gonna run a program where you're ramping up and ramping down the gyres. You're gonna definitely hear a big audible distinction when you ramp up and ramp down relative to the MP10s, where in my tank the MP10s are virtually silent. So I'm not kidding with you guys, but I could hear the gyres ramping up from 30% to 0%, in the middle of the night when I'm sleeping. So my tank is in is in the main floor. My room is above the tank, the bedroom, and I could literally like hear it. If I just happen to wake in the middle of the night, I could hear the ramping up and ramping down of the gyres. So I actually had to kind of reduce the ranges and try to kind of run them more constantly so I don't hear this annoying ramping up and ramping down sound. I had hoped that the gyres would quiet down, and I think they did. They're not as noisy as when I ran them the first month or so, but they're not nearly as silent as the MP10s. The other issue that I experience with the gyres that I'm not too happy with is they're essentially a big pain in the ass to clean. So I finally cleaned them up. They've been building up with core line, and you know the gyres have like so many small little orifices and pits, so it's easy for the core line algae to kind of grow over them and really slow down the flow. So that's why I had to clean them, is I felt that the slow was substantially lower than when I initially set up the tank. So I soaked them in a container of water and vinegar. And while I'm pulling these things apart, I actually, there's so many little pieces that you have to remove, and quite a few pieces you have to exert a bit of force to remove. And during the process, one of the rotors actually, it seemed like it didn't snap off. It's just there was two bits that appeared to have been like glued together, and it came off while I was taking apart the gyres. So there is, to clean them, there's about, I think, 5 or 6 different steps that you have to do. Relative to the MP10s, the MP10s are super easy to clean and super easy to take apart. There's literally nothing to them. You just remove the cage, you remove the rotor, and that's it. And none of these are kind of mission critical. So I've not mission critical, but none of them are kind of stressful motions where you could potentially damage the pumps. So relative to the gyres, where you have to be careful because you can easily twist things or break things. So just to kind of put things in perspective, I've been using the MP10s I have 2 MP10s that I've been using for more than about 2.5 years now. I've cleaned them. I usually clean them every few months. I've never broken anything, and I've never had any difficulties cleaning them. And for the most part, it's like a 10-minute process. Now the gyres, I've only had them for 3 months, and I've cleaned them once. And during that cleanup, I did manage to break something. So not really impressed with the maintenance aspects of these units, because there's just so many moving parts, and you're just bound to, and you have to really apply some force to remove like the magnets and when you're removing the cages and the rotors, it's a lot of moving parts, and you're bound to kind of make an accident. I think that's probably why they give you an extra pair of rotors and cages with the gyres. I think they know that there is there is like a high risk of breaking something, so they just give you the extra bits in case you break them. So that's kind of my thoughts. If I were to do this again, I probably would have opted out to get more MP10s. Again, it's nothing about the flow. I think the gyres put out a lot of water, and they are able to move a lot of water. So I'm not knocking them down because they're just not generating flow. But they're not as the 230 is definitely not as quiet as the MP10. And the maintenance involved is more involved than the maintenance on the MP10. Okay, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you soon. Have a good one. Bye.